Okay, welcome back to the Jiu-Jitsu Mindset. This is Pete Deeley. The divine smiles on me every week where I get to talk to amazing people, and this week is no different. Just as a reminder, Submission Coffee is still unclassified as a performance enhancing drug. So if you want to go get your Submission Coffee subscription, go to thejujitsumindset.com. I had an amazing time preparing to talk to today's guest because it's just been present in so many important moments culturally to the world and uh, the jiu-jitsu world, the MMA world. Just a whole bunch of extraordinary people have come in and out of his life. And so I'm very, very happy to get to talk to Professor Steve Maxwell. So, sir, thank you for spending some time with me.
My pleasure.
As I, listened to you over, the last couple of weeks on other interviews that you had, I recognize that this might be like this perhaps could be a difficult question. And the question that I wanted to start with was if wrestling and martial arts weren't present in your life the way they were, like what road do you go down or what roads do you pursue and how's your life different? How are you different if those things don't take the role that they took in your life so far?
I would have definitely been in strength training in some form or another.
Okay.
Um, I started lifting weights when I was 12 years old in my father's basement in Carlisle, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
We live pretty close to York, Pennsylvania. Carlisle and York are just a few miles apart.
Right.
And at that time, the mecca of fitness and strength training was York Barbell Company.
Okay.
And it was run by a fellow by the name of Bob Hoffman. Some people call him the father of American weightlifting.
Okay.
And I actually met him, and there was a very famous bodybuilder, Mr. Universe, Mr. America, John Grimmick.
Mm-hmm.
I met him. And at that time, uh, things weren't so separated. Like many of the bodybuilders competed and trained in Olympic weightlifting.
Okay.
So there was three current world champion Olympic weightlifters also at the York Barbell Club. So back in the day, it was called physical culture. Everyone did it.
Right.
I would have definitely been a physical culturist no matter what.
Right.
So they were my roots, my beginnings.
Did I have an opinion about particularly young people who wrestle and that it has it imprints certain things. Wrestlers have, I think, things in common that other people don't, and that there's a physical requirement and a mental requirement to wrestling that when I started jiu-jitsu at 50, so I was an older person, but if I'm in a jiu-jitsu class and some white belt comes in who's my age, but they were a wrestler in high school and college, it is immediately apparent. Like, I mean, their proprioception is attuned to jiu-jitsu in a way that people who haven't had that experience don't have. So I'm curious in terms of the role of becoming a great wrestler, becoming a jiu-jitsu black belt. Were there things that affected your mentality that served you well in all these other pursuits, or were they there whether you had done wrestling and jiu-jitsu anyway? Like I'm curious if it was an incubator of a certain mindset, or it was always there and it wouldn't have mattered.
Well, wrestling's a really tough sport. It's a real grind.
Yeah.
So you develop like a real mental capacity for hard work.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's pretty hard nosed. And I had a lot of injuries in wrestling, actually, because it is so hard.
Hmm.
And I can't say that I was like super talented, although I had a great record.
Right.
I made up for my lack of talent with hard work.
Hmm.
And I outconditioned a lot of people back in the day, just with hustle.
Right.
And when I went to jujitsu, I still had that same mindset. It took me a while to calm down, and
Interesting.
I was the typical spazzy white belt,
Right.
and but I was a good spazzy white belt.
Right.
I mean, I was tapping blue belts out in day one,
I have no doubt.
and I got a blue belt in about 6 months
Hmm.
from the Gracies. because I had that edge that wrestling gave me.
Right.
See, wrestling gives you the ability to put people down on
Right.
the ground. Now, unfortunately, jiu-jitsu has become the sport of it.
Right.
They've neglected a lot of the takedowns, the throws, and it's kind of like I specialize in ground fighting, but I don't know how to take it to the
Yeah.
ground.
Yeah.
I always thought that was ridiculous, but it seems to be kind of prevalent. So with the wrestling, I had the ability to put people on the bottom.
Right.
And then, with good base, good balance, hard to sweep, just tough neck, hard to submit.
Right.
So, white belts, blue belts had no chance with me.
Right.
But, when you got to the purple belt, that was a different story, man.
Oh,
They were enough. At that time, I thought purple belts were like gods, man.
well, I mean, and you're learning in pretty rarefied territory. I mean, you're with the Gracies, and that's, I mean, of all the places to incubate your skills to learn the sport, there's no better place to to have had that. When you looked at the progression of jiu-jitsu over these years, and having that foundation of having spent all the time you did with the Gracies. Um, you talk about the sport of jiu-jitsu kind of watering down, I think, is sort of what might have came to you in the beginning. I mean, where are the biggest points of divergence you think between jiu-jitsu today and those early days?
Well, in the early days, jiu-jitsu was a fighting art.
Right.
It was meant for self-defense, to be able to handle yourself in a real fight.
Right.
And at the Gracie Academy, you learn takedowns, you learn judo throws, and you learn how to defend yourself against punches, kicks, headbutts, every kind of grab you could think of.
Sure.
It was a lot of distance management. I
Yes.
noticed that a lot of the modern kids don't have that good distance management.
Hmm.
And in those days, there was the competitive side of jiu-jitsu, and people did compete, jiu-jitsu versus jiu-jitsu,
Right.
but it wasn't as prevalent as it is today. For example, when I first started, in the women's division, there was like 3 weight classes only. There
Right.
wasn't that many women. And with the guys, I think there was like 6. And then they expanded that a lot. They added weight classes, and
Hmm.
then the women got a full repertoire as it became more and more popular. But no one has even heard of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. People say, well, isn't Jiu Jitsu Japanese? And say, no,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
Brazilian Jiu Jitsu.
Right.
But you mean Japanese, right? No, I mean Brazilian.
Yeah.
People had a tough time wrapping their mind around the
Sure.
fact that the Brazilians had taken judo and developed this whole system of self-defense, pretty much what the old Kodokan judo used to be
Okay.
before judo became an Olympic sport. I used to collect old books,
Hmm.
and in those books, all of the self-defense techniques were in there. And
Yes.
I spent a lot of time with Elliot Gracie, and he told me he didn't speak English, but I had an interpreter,
Right.
and he told me that he didn't change one thing, that he didn't add one thing.
Hmm.
Everything was there right from the beginning.
Right.
Everything. All he did was polish it up and create a teaching style.
Right. Okay.
And then his oldest son, holding on,
Right.
developed the teaching style even further. So
And-
that it was a way of teaching martial arts,
right.
a system.
It's interesting to me because when I think of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as coming into people's awareness, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you were Royce's, strength and conditioning coach during his early UFC fights or his UFC fights. I think you were for a few
Well, his
years. And
ex-wife, his ex-wife was one of my trainers.
okay,
I had a gym called Maxercise, and not to brag, but it was like a who's who of the elite
yes,
of Philadelphia. And it's funny because it was pretty much a shitty space, man. It was an old warehouse full of hammer strength and Nautilus equipment.
uh-huh,
And then later I got into club bells and kettlebells.
right,
But, before that, it was, and I did a protocol called Super Slow,
right,
which were great for for a lot of the clients that I had at that time.
Hmm.
I had like 11 trainers working for me.
Right.
And Hoyce's ex-wife,
Right.
Mary Ann, was one of my trainers. And I, in the beginning, I would go out to the Gracie Academy, spend a couple of weeks here, a couple of weeks there,
Right.
come back. I set mats up in my gym because I wanted to practice. Because I knew how to coach. I was a wrestling coach
Right.
at high school, and I knew how to organize practice. I was a physical education teacher before I got in the gym business, so
Right.
I knew how to organize and how to teach basic skills because that was my background in
Sure.
teaching. And I would have people come in and we would just train what we knew.
Right.
We didn't know much, but
Sure.
we kept adding on. Then I go back out to the Gracie Academy, bring back more skills. It was a back and forth kind of thing.
Right.
And then eventually I started bringing the Gracies to me.
Okay.
And Hoyce stayed with me for almost 2 months one time,
Okay.
living out of my house. And that's when he met my trainer, Marianne, and they had a love affair. And next thing I know, he took one of my best trainers back to California.
Well, um, when you, I mean, as a
but
teacher,
anyway, when he
yeah,
was
yeah,
through, I trained with him every freaking day, man. I
yeah.
mean, learned a lot, you know.
I can only imagine. I mean, to have him have so much access to him, as you have taught
And he wasn't
jujitsu.
the only one. Horian would come out. Now he wouldn't stay for long periods of time,
Right.
but we would set up. I had the very first Gracie Jiu-Jitsu seminar in Philadelphia, first
Okay.
Brazilian, and
What year is that?
oh man, that must have been like 1990, I think,
Okay.
91 maybe. Yeah, Horian came out, and it was huge, man. I mean, those days it wasn't unusual to get like 100 people to show up for a seminar,
That's so great.
and you would just keep picking up skills here, there, everywhere. But I already had my base.
Right.
I started wrestling in seventh grade when I was 12 years old, so I had that base. I had the distance management. I trained other martial arts too.
Right.
My father was a U.S. Navy boxer during World War II.
Right.
He was the Pacific bantamweight.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Out in the Pacific during the war, they used to set up a ring on either a battleship or an aircraft carrier, right?
Right.
And all the ships would circle around, and the sailors would climb up in the rigging to watch these fights that they used to
Yeah.
put up to entertain the sailors. Because, I mean, between battles, there was a lot of downtime. It
Sure.
probably was pretty boring. And these were like teenagers, right? My dad joined the Navy when he was 17 years old. So you have all these teenagers out in the middle of the Pacific, nothing to do. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah. Right.
And so they'd do these boxing matches. And so my dad was pretty handy with his hands.
Well, I
He was a
guess
little
so.
guy, and he taught my brother and I how to box,
Nice.
but I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Boxing wasn't for me,
My
and
my
that's
mother's
why
father.
that's why I went out for wrestling. Sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, no, I just excited, I guess. Excuse me for interrupting. But my mother's father was a sailor in the South Pacific during World War II as well. And when Pearl Harbor got bombed, the next day he left high school and went out and became a sailor in World War II. So,
Same as my dad, man.
exactly, yeah, same thing. Who knows? He was out there. He maybe
They might
beat.
have been together out there. You ever hear the term Admiral Halsey?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, then they were in the same fleet.
Okay, all right. Well, that's yeah. Maybe your dad was kicking my grandfather's ass. Who knows? What?
Well, he was on the USS Waterman. Is your dad
Okay.
still alive?
No, no, that's my grandfather actually. So,
Okay. Is
yeah.
he still
So
alive?
no, no, he passed many years
Okay.
ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The USS Waterman. It was a destroyer escort.
Okay. Yeah.
They,
Well, that's interesting.
they had 13 battle stars. They were kamikaze.
Oh, no kidding. Um. So when we talk about, and was it Helson who gave you your black belt? Do I have that
Yeah.
correct?
Well,
Yeah.
Horian would send different people out to me.
Right.
For example, maybe you heard of the name Kaiki
Hmm.
Enrique.
Okay.
Kaiki used to come. Hillian Gracie. For a while, Craig Kukoc. That's a very early adopter of jiu-jitsu. He
Right.
was the first American to get his black belt directly from the Gracie family.
Okay.
He was one of the Dirty Dozen.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
there was other guys that had got their black belts before him, but they
Okay.
didn't get it from the Gracies. They got it from the Machado brothers.
Okay. Right.
But Craig went down to Rio de Janeiro and got his black belt directly from Hoyler.
Okay.
I was actually down there. I went down to Brazil with him
Wow.
because I was, I really liked Craig. And then Craig used to come to my school and teach
Hmm.
and got his black belt. And then he started going to Red Bank, New Jersey. And he got lured away by another guy. So I was a little disappointed with Craig, because he was actually a really good teacher. I don't know whether he's still into it or not.
Right.
I haven't heard a thing about him in years and years and years.
When
But between him and then Hoyan started sending Hoist and Kaiki, and then he started sending his brother Helson,
Okay.
who I immediately hit it off with. I liked Helson a lot.
Right.
Helson was a wild man, though, man.
Okay.
Wild.
Okay. Wild across the board, like just in life in general.
He liked the nightlife. He liked the night. Apparently, he had some. Well, I'm not going to talk out of turn, but
Right. Right.
he has some substance abuse problems.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he liked going out and carousing at night. He liked his alcohol, and he liked going out with the young guys. And
Sure.
he was famous for his street fighting. He had many. According to Helson, he had 45 street
Oh
fights.
my goodness.
Not in the ring,
No, I get it.
you
Yeah.
know,
These are
knock
straight up
down,
fights.
tag out. And he told me that not one of his fights lasted more than a minute.
Okay.
His street jujitsu was lethal.
Well, I mean, that
He's a
sounds,
lethal guy. I
and
mean,
then, and
Hickman was known as the best
sure.
of the best,
Right.
but apparently when it came to street fighting, no one could equal Helson except his uncle Carlos Gracie. Carlos Gracie was a badass.
As a street fighter.
Yes, Carlos Gracie was not Carlos Elias, but or I'm sorry, Carlson Gracie. It's hard to
Okay.
keep it
Yeah.
straight. Carlson Gracie, one of his cousins,
Right. It's trouble in
was
the streets.
very lethal guy. That guy knew how to fight. He was, I think, the father of Enzo and Half, and
Okay.
he, who was the other guy that died?
Holes.
No, there was Half Gracie, Enzo Gracie. They had a younger brother. Was it Hyan? I think it was Hyan Gracie,
Okay.
who is deceased.
Right.
They were badasses. They knew how to fight.
I-
They knew how to throw down. Man. Boys did too. I mean, all of them.
sure.
Because in those days, you didn't separate it, man.
Right. Right.
You
The
didn't
Valley
separate
Tude
the fight.
culture.
Yeah, I mean, you grew up pretty much MMA, Valley Judo, uh, submission, jiu-jitsu, with the gi, without the gi, it didn't matter.
Right.
And
Wait.
stuff that didn't work, you didn't use.
Sure.
There was no barambolas rolling upside down.
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean, dude, great way to get your balls punched into your throat,
Right.
exposing your package to some guy, boom, hammer fist. I mean, it's silly shit.
Yeah.
Only when jiu-jitsu became like a really, really popular sport
Right.
did you start to see those techniques.
Sure.
And I understand.
No. No. Yeah.
People don't want to fight. I don't. I'm 74 years old.
Right.
Hell, I ain't gonna fight anybody.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to get away if I can.
With
I know how to fight,
right.
but I prefer not to. But in those days, you had to be rough and ready.
Yeah.
And those were the days of the challenge matches.
Right. Now, as I understand those, it comes out of some article in Playboy, if I remember correctly, where
I think it was either 88 or 89.
right.
Julian wrote an article how jiu-jitsu could beat any other martial art, pretty much.
Right.
And that he would put up $10,000 to anyone outside the jiu-jitsu style,
Mm-hmm.
be another jiu-jitsu, outside jiu-jitsu,
Right.
they could beat. And the way it was supposed to work is I bring my pile of money, my
Right.
10, you bring your pile of money, and we put it together in one big pile, winner
Right.
takes all. Well, people would just show up wanting to fight. They
Sure.
had no fucking money, you know. But it was called the $10,000 challenge.
Right.
And it started trickling down to our school because we were pretty much the only school at that time around. There might have been one in Florida somewhere. I
Right.
think someone texted me once correcting me. I said I was the first school. I think one of the Gracie cousins might have had one in Florida somewhere.
Right.
I don't know. You know, I was the only one that we knew about.
Right.
We had guys show up at our door, and it was always uh, comparison style. I want to compare my martial art to yours.
Sure.
It was like, well, do you punch? Yeah. Do you kick?
Right.
Yeah. So you're going to try to punch and kick me, right? Yeah. Well, then you want to fight.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Stop saying comparison.
Right. Yeah. Let's
You
let's
don't want
let's
to
just call
compare.
this. Yeah. Do you want to
You
get
want to
into a
beat
fight with
my
me?
ass,
Yeah.
right? You want to fight. So let's just be clear on what it is.
Right.
It's a fight.
So did
And
you
we,
take any of those challenge matches? Did you?
yeah, hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. You got them like a particular memorable one to share? I mean,
Well, one was in front of Hoy's, man. I was a purple belt at the time. I was four. I started jiu-jitsu at 38, by the way.
right.
I wasn't a young man, but I wasn't old either. You know, I was a
Yeah.
great jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And I had been doing other martial arts before that. And I had done a little Russian sambo. I
Yes.
had done Kempo karate. I tried Japanese karate, didn't like it. I tried Bondo, which was the mother art of Muay Thai.
Okay.
Muay Thai had a precursor called Bondo.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was fought with bare fists, and I wasn't a striker
Hmm.
for the same reason that I rejected my father's boxing lessons
Right.
and went out for wrestling. I just didn't like it. I didn't like hitting. I didn't like getting hit. I like
Sure.
clinching
Yeah.
and wrestling. So anyway, Hoist was visiting, and this guy shows up, and this guy is ripped. I mean, this guy is so muscular. He looked like a bodybuilder, man. I
Right.
mean, he really did. He was about 220 pounds
Whoa.
and about 23 years old, and was the Division III NCAA
What?
wrestling champion.
Okay.
Okay, not D1, but D3 is still pretty fucking hot.
Yeah, without a doubt.
You know, so he knew how to wrestle, and you know, he took off his shirt. He wanted to go bare chested, and it was like, whoa, look at this dude. And I was like, at that time, about almost 48, purple belt, and about 160 pounds soaking wet. And we went at it. And right at the very beginning, I headbutted his hand when he tried to punch me. That
Right.
was a technique we used to, you know, you would like headbutt the hand. I
Right.
think he broke his hand because he
Oh.
stopped. I never did know. I want to admit, I just wondered why he stopped punching, but he just tried to wrestle me.
Right.
And he did all the typical wrestler stuff, trying to get me in headlocks and squeeze my neck. But I just couldn't take this fucking guy down. Usually I was pretty good at putting people in the bottom. I couldn't put him on the bottom.
Okay.
He ended up in my guard for the longest time, man. And I can remember looking up at the clock thinking, oh my God.
Right.
So just relax, breathe, wouldn't let him hit me with his elbows or headbutt me,
Right.
you know. And I could feel him getting tired.
Right.
And eventually, about the 42-minute mark, I got a head and arm triangle and
Okay.
choked him out.
Wow.
And I probably wouldn't have done it so long. I felt like giving up, man.
Sure.
And I mean, he never got a clean shot on me, but you know, I felt beat up because he was squeezing me and sticking his elbow.
He's 55 pounds heavier than you.
Eyes,
Oh, good God.
pushing his forearms into my neck, and you know, just all sorts of mean, nasty stuff.
Yeah.
But Hoist was there watching, so I had to, you know.
Yeah.
I was like, I guess it was like a 3 or 4 degree purple belt at the time. But I
Okay.
finally got him in that head and arm choke and basically put him out.
Wow. Well, I mean, that's extraordinary. And to be committed enough to defend this point of view, at that, I mean, it's one thing at 24, all the energy of a 24-year-old to want to. It's another thing, given the age you're at, and with Hoist looking after you, I can imagine the pressure to kind of, hey, keep whatever position in his eyes that. But 42 minutes too. That's a real testament to the condition you were in. My God.
Well, it's really funny because Hoist's only comment was, "What took you so long?" They were famous for being kind of taciturn, and
Yes, right.
he wasn't going to tell me good job or anything. It was like, "Well, what took you so
Yeah, Jesus, 42 minutes. I got to stand here and watch you, huh? Wow.
long?"
That's so funny.
And it was just me and the guy's friend and Hoist.
Right.
There's only 4 of us up there, but
Wow.
I got it on videotape.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know. I think Phil Migueres might have all those old videos because we used to have guys come in. I had a guy, a black belt in Kempo karate, same thing, man. But
Right.
those guys, he was more my size, about 185.
Right.
Yeah, I dispatched him in about 1 minute.
Wow.
Just a good double leg pickup throw, smashed him on the ground, immediately mounted, slapped the shit out of his face, turned over, boom, rear
Right.
naked. That was the formula pretty much. Once you got the guy down and mounted, and you just open hand slaps, guys would almost always turn over. And
Yes, right.
it was formula, like a formula.
And I would imagine that people wouldn't have seen that much either. Like it wouldn't have been in the notion of being choked out in that manner wouldn't have been.
People had no clue, man.
No clue, right? I mean, it's the UFC has introduced that into people's awareness in a way that back then I would think
No one knew. No
no one
one
knew.
had a
Yeah,
clue about being choked out. No clue whatsoever. And some of these guys are pretty good at their martial art.
sure,
But once you make that clinch, that distance management, you
right,
either stay out of range or in so close where they can't get a good piece of you. And then once the fight goes to the floor, if they don't know how to wrestle, but wrestlers will turn their back.
sure,
Or if they don't know judo or jiu-jitsu, they're pretty much cooked.
right.
And that's why Helson told me that in all his street fights, not one lasted more than 2 minutes. He said
Yeah,
most were over in 60 seconds. And he wasn't bragging. He was just saying
that's how it went.
that's how effective the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu was. And it came from a line of Japanese Jiu-Jitsu fighters that came to Brazil. You hear the name Maeda.
Sure.
Elliot Gracie never trained with Maeda. His
Okay.
older brother did.
Okay.
And his brother taught Elio. But there was other Japanese guys. And in those days, even in Japan, their jiu-jitsu was formidable.
Sure.
It only was after World War II that judo became a sport. I don't know whether you know this or not, but your dad being in World War II in the Pacific Fleet. My dad was the first, his ship was the first one into Tokyo Harbor at the
Okay.
end of the war. He was like the ship was the sacrificial lamb. The Japanese had agreed to ceasefire,
Right.
and they were supposed to show all their gun embankments with little white flags on the shore. And my dad said, man, they were scared out of their minds. Their little ship chugged into the harbor,
Right.
and he said there was thousands of gun emplacements with little white flags they could see.
Wow.
They would have just been blasted out of the water. And he was part of the occupying force.
Wow.
And at that time, General Douglas MacArthur said Japanese could not practice any martial arts.
Oh, I
Not
didn't know that. That's interesting.
that's where nighttime training came in. They
Okay.
started sneaking out at night to continue to practice in secret
Right.
because it was forbidden during the occupation time. So judo, which was actually a pretty decent little martial art, became a sport.
Right.
And in 1960, I think it was the first Olympic judo. It was a exhibition sport, and then it became a regular part of the Olympics. But up to that point, it was not a sport.
It's a
It was
pure martial art. It was, yeah,
it had everything pretty much that Gracie Jiu-Jitsu has.
yeah,
It's just that Elio took a lot of those moves
right.
and polished them up a little bit and created a teaching style. But he admitted to me that he hadn't added anything.
That's
It was pretty
interesting.
much the old.
The old judo,
And I used to collect books on jiu-jitsu and judo.
right?
And in those days, they kind of they interchanged the terms. And almost all the old school self-defense were in those books. I had some books from one was 1895,
Oh my goodness.
real collector's item.
Yeah,
A bunch from the early 1900s, 1901, whatever. All the old school self-defense techniques were in those books.
right.
And so it came from a long line of
Yes, right. Yeah, a deep history. Yeah, with I mean,
yeah,
it have
deep
to.
history.
When
And
I,
jiu-jitsu was the art of the samurai.
right. Yeah.
If they lost their weapon, they had to close the gap, clinch, and take the guy down. Because fighting barehanded against a guy with a sword, you're kind of screwed. So you
Indeed.
got real good at distance management and clinching.
Yeah, there's nothing to teach you distance management like a sword, that's for sure. Um, as I'm curious as a teacher and a coach. I mean, when you meet the Gracie family, you already have a framework of how you teach people and how instruction should happen. You've done lots of it. Did they change or affect the way that you taught after being taught by them? I'm just curious.
Well, it was really interesting because Horian, as far as I know, and he's probably one of the best teachers I had ever met.
Okay.
All of the brothers were fantastic teachers, really good. But he, in particular, was so articulate and
Okay.
so good at breaking down skills and technique. I never had a finer teacher. Even my college professors
Right.
were
Right.
not as good a teacher as he was. He just had a way of just getting the point across. And Halson was pretty good, but not quite as good.
Sure.
He had ADD and he was a little out there.
Right.
But Horan was really precise.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
And,
interesting to me.
and I would say everything that he did was right in line with the motor learning that research at that time.
Okay.
One of my studies in college as a health and physical education major was what they called at that time motor learning,
Okay.
the teaching of physical skill.
Hmm.
And Horan was like right on, man. I don't know where he picked up I guess he got it from his dad
Right.
because the lessons I had with Elio, um, it was always through an interpreter.
Right.
I never knew exactly what he was saying.
Right.
I only got, uh, a version through an interpreter.
Right. In terms of language, and then I'm
But
sure
I could tell
physically.
that he was a really good teacher.
Right. Yeah.
But even in Portuguese, you could pretty much follow what he wanted you to do.
Yeah. You knew what he was trying to get across. That notion of invisible jujitsu is, I mean, it seems like you need very precise teacher to convey these things that aren't convey. Like for me, my relationship to jujitsu is I had a local place to learn, and I went to the place that was close to me, and their teaching is what I have learned and continue to learn. Um, when I watch and I listen to, I've had a chance to talk to, in terms of the Dirty Dozen, I talked to Professor Chris Howder just recently, and talking to professors Clay Cox and Scott Byrne, people who have trained with Jake Johnson, Hickson. I'm curious about how to convey this invisible jujitsu, and when you talk about that precision of language, for me, it'd have to be very slow, and it would have to be very, step oriented. Here's what you're doing piece by piece, and it sounds like you got a version of that.
Well, when I first went to the Gracie Academy, all the brothers were together. They were one big happy family.
Right,
When I first started, they were still in their garage. They didn't even have their school.
right.
And then, my next trip, they had just opened up the school on Carson Street. And at that time, all the brothers were there. So
Hmm.
I had classes with Hickson
Right.
as a blue belt, and you never know what brother was going to teach.
Yeah.
And Hoist didn't even speak English at that point.
Okay.
Yeah. And the invisible jujitsu that they talk about is just basic principles of jujitsu
Right.
about positioning, distance management,
Right.
body position, that type of thing. Very important, but unfortunately, many modern instructors don't know.
Yes. Yeah.
Or they don't articulate it. I would say, and this probably will raise some hackles in some people.
Right.
I would say many, not most, but many black belt instructors are not very good teachers. They're not
Mhm.
qualified. They're only teaching to support their jujitsu habit. In reality, they would probably be serving coffee at a coffee bar somewhere. Or, you know, they like jujitsu. It's what they like to do, and the most of they teach, and they open a school.
Right.
But most of them have no business background. They
Yes.
don't know how to run a business. Most aren't really teachers. They never had any professional um, teaching skills taught to them.
Right.
You know, so they're just flying by the seat of their pants, and classes just end up just being one technique after another.
Yeah. Well, those are all such separate, hard disciplines. To learn to teach and coach is its own discipline, and it's not just, it doesn't just happen, right? I mean, you have a degree and that you've studied it academically. You've had lots of time doing that. Running a business is its own thing. It's its own discipline,
And I
right?
was no businessman, by the way. My ex-wife and I, when we opened up our gym, we didn't know what the fuck we were doing either, man.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard.
But thank God, one of our clients, his name was Bernie Spain. He owned a whole like 150 stores called Spain's Card and Gifts, and also dollar stores.
Okay.
You ever see Forrest Gump, the movie?
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
Remember the happy face?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bernie Spain owned that. He was the
No.
one that invented it. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Guy was a gazillionaire, man. This guy had so damn much money. He started with one store and
Right.
ended up having this huge chain. Well, he was one of my clients for
Okay.
personal training. He taught my wife and I how to do the books, how
Nice.
to prepare our taxes. He gave us lessons on basic business 101. Thank God for him.
Yeah.
We didn't know. We just didn't know.
That's so crazy that that yellow happy face being his. It's so, I'm sure the pet rock, right? Saying whoever it's that
Yeah,
from the 70s, right? I mean, what a nutty way to hit it big, so to speak.
yeah. But he just gave us some basic accounting
Sure.
skills, and my wife pretty much ran the books,
Okay.
and in that way we had a base level knowledge of business, and then of course we hired an accountant.
Yeah, yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, and him and his wife worked out with us in the gym, so it's
Nice.
like one big happy family.
Yeah,
But I would say the majority of guys running schools
right.
or even fitness centers, they don't have that advantage of having someone like that.
Yes, yes. Yeah,
So,
I've
it ends up, so I'm not, I've gone to many fine jujitsu schools where teaching was fantastic,
sure.
but I've been to a lot where it was really horrible too, man.
The one of the things is we, head to the end here that am curious about. Usually I like to ask like how you've observed in your community of students the strongest impact that either jujitsu or the other things that you have taught in terms of strength and conditioning have positively impacted um, a particular student. But I wanted to adjust that question for you because you talk about playing the long game physically in other places and being able to do what you like to do and not stopping in your 60s or your 50s or and beyond. um, have you do you have a story of somebody that you've shown here's a way to adjust your physical life that then listened to what you said and then has gone on well past maybe what they thought they could do. At 55 for me, I'm thinking about rolling 15 years out, 20 years out is my intention. I mean, I'd like to go till the end, frankly. Um, but I also carry with me the injuries of a life where I've used the body hard. And um, yeah, I think about the long game myself. For me, um, by making sure that my ego doesn't take over at any given time. Like I always err on the side of caution as I roll with people, because most of the people I roll with are stronger and younger and better, in most instances. Um, so I'm curious if you have students that listened and then found that they could do things longer than they thought they could.
Well, I have. Uh, the most expensive was myself, of course.
Yeah, tell me.
When I first started, I was pretty much, very physical.
Right,
And then in my 40s, I realized that physicality will only get you so far.
right.
As soon as you find someone bigger, stronger, more coordinated, better gas,
Hmm.
so you can't depend on those physical attributes. I can remember Horion saying, you come in to jujitsu with a certain degree of strength and conditioning and coordination, endurance, and all that. But if that's what you rely upon, someday that's going to go away.
Right,
Or you're going to find someone bigger and stronger and better conditioned than you. And
right,
then your jiu-jitsu won't work. So it has to be based on something else. Invisible jiu-jitsu.
right.
What is invisible jiu-jitsu? It's making the most of leverage,
Hmm.
positioning, being patient when you're on the bottom,
Right.
not being afraid, you know. And I think for as you get older, I think it's really important to forget about points and all that shit.
Sure, sure.
I mean, okay, I competed. I was a successful competitor in jiu-jitsu. But as you get older, all my injuries in jiu-jitsu were from competition.
Right. Oh,
It's
okay.
not it's not a whole lot different than wrestling
Yeah.
when it comes to injuries. Most guys I know that compete get hurt.
Right.
Anytime you add that factor in there. So, I'm sure you've heard all these, but you tap early, tap often.
Right.
Don't be afraid to tap to a lower belt. That ego, man, that will get you hurt every single time.
Yeah.
Maybe you've heard of this. Part of it, let me turn off the seat here. Have you ever heard of this concept called the void belt system?
No, that's new to me. I don't know the Boyd belt system.
Okay. There was a black belt at the Gracie Academy run by Hiron and Henry Gracie.
Hmm.
And he came in very distraught to the lounge area where the instructors would stay. And he had been tapped out by a blue belt, and he's a black belt. And I think that's the story. He either got tapped or got a really hard time for this tap.
Right.
And so this guy was like 55 at the time. And they said, well, who was the guy? So it ends up that the guy was like 30 pounds heavier and about like 22 years old and just ridiculously strong.
Right.
And they were saying, well, look, man, you got these black belt level skills,
Right.
but strength and size and age can overcome a lot of skill sets.
Right.
And the scale is for every 20 pounds, it's
Right.
like the guy has a belt on you.
Right. Right.
Right.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
like what do you weigh?
I weigh 180 pounds.
Okay, so imagine a guy 220,
Right.
right? 180, 90, 200.
Sure.
Yeah, that would be like the guy would be like if he's a blue belt, he'd be like a purple or brown belt.
Right.
Now, for every 10 years of age difference, it's also like a belt.
Right.
So if you have a guy that is like, you know, 30 or actually, I rolled with the guy the other day. I was 50 years older than this guy. I was a half a century older.
Yeah, that's so great.
And he was like 10 pounds heavier.
Right,
I'm not going to be able to kick his ass for long.
right,
As soon as he starts coming up and learning the technique, now he's like a white belt 3 degrees,
right.
so I can still get him, but it's not easy, man.
Yeah,
Nor should it be.
right, right,
Name another sport or activity where you can be older and smaller and possibly weaker and
right,
still prevail. I
right.
don't know of any sport like that.
No,
Certainly
I
not
feel
wrestling, not
exactly
kickboxing,
right.
not, no way, man. So it's technique will take you only but so far. The
Sure.
real technique is not being caught.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
the game. You got to play the old man game. You've heard of old man wrestling or old
Right.
man jiu-jitsu?
Sure.
Yeah, you don't try to do anything. You just don't let them do anything to you.
Yeah.
And expect to be in the bottom a lot and get real comfortable being.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. How are your joints at this point in your life? My I have all these surgeons that I've talked to that want to replace my shoulders. And I've had a good friend of mine, Professor Tom Wiggins, who replaced both of his shoulders along the way for all the wear and tear over all these years. Your joints holding up, or how do you feel?
Yeah, pretty good. My right shoulder is pretty dicey. I had a bunch of injuries in college wrestling and then later jujitsu. But I'll tell you, to tell the truth, what really screwed me up was kettlebell snatches.
Oh, that screwed you up in a bad way that they didn't.
Yeah. Not a good exercise.
Okay.
I was pushing it too hard. I stopped all that kettlebell stuff. I think it's just too hard on your musculoskeletal system.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason to do it. Uh, Moving a weight fast will not make you more explosive. That's a myth.
Oh, okay. Well,
I
that's
do predominantly isometric.
okay. Well, that kind of cancels out about 8 years of Olympic weightlifting, and I did lots and lots of one-handed kettlebell snatches. Maybe that's part of my problem. Maybe that.
That's why your shoulders are all fucked up.
Oh, okay. That was back to
No,
those things.
seriously,
I
you're not
believe
the
you.
first
Yeah.
guy. You're not the first guy, man. I would recommend getting the book Shoulder Pain: Its Solution and Prevention.
Okay.
For all your listeners out there.
Yeah.
It's read by. It was written by a former orthopedic surgeon. I think his name was Dr. Kirsch.
Okay.
He did this famous Maui study
Okay.
where he had people hang by their hands,
Mm,
like in traction,
right.
for prolonged periods of time. And it stretched out and opened the shoulder joint so that people that were really crippled up with pain
Right.
were fairly pain free.
Yeah.
And he, as an orthopedic surgeon, no longer believed that surgery was a good solution. He stopped doing surgeries. And and this is a guy that made his living doing it.
Right.
And he put people only hanging.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's
I would do that first, Peter,
no. I like
before
it. Yeah.
allowing a guy to, because these doctors love to make these surgeries sound like a walk in the park. They're never a walk in the park. And once you get that surgery, you're never going to be the same again.
And that's been my hesitancy. My problem with the hanging is that I can't get my arms to go above my head, so any hanging is at an angle. And
Well, what you do is you get a suspension device with two separate handles
okay,
or rings and adjust them and keep your feet on the floor
okay,
and just hang that way.
it
And
just
start
yeah,
with just 10-second hangs.
yeah.
But, the book, they tell you all about it.
I'll check that out. I
But even without the book, I can tell you right now, you just do partial weighted hangs
okay,
and the shoulders very gradually begin to stretch out.
okay.
And you open up the shoulder capsule, which is your main problem. You probably have osteoarthritis,
I do.
probably have
Yes,
calcium. Yeah,
yes,
you
all
have
that.
calcium deposits. Yeah,
Yes,
on the head of the humerus.
that's
Well,
exactly right.
it stretches. Here's the head of the humerus, right? Your
Right. Yeah.
upper arm bone, and the joint forms over it,
Right.
but it kind of closes
That's
in.
exactly right. That's
So
exactly what
what
I got.
happens is the hanging stretches the coracoid bone up and gives you more room to move around in there.
Okay.
And then check out this protocol called the Copper Protocol.
Okay.
Write it down. Copper Protocol.
Okay. Yeah.
And the Copper Protocol will help pull calcium,
Okay.
fluoride, chlorine out of the joint.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
because you were irritating your shoulders so much.
Oh yeah.
Form this mineral deposit at the end of the bone.
That's exactly
Well,
right.
there are supplements that can help
Okay.
your body get rid of that extra mineral deposit,
Right.
and you combine that with the hanging, you have yourself a pretty good therapy.
I mean, I'll tell you what a blessing that would be if because
Well,
what you
exercise is always your best medicine.
with it, well, yeah,
Oh,
and I'm I'm certainly spending my time moving and exercising and all the rest of it, but this particular uh reshaping of the top of my humerus and what you just described in terms of how it relates to the clavicle, it's just been bound up in a way that massage and other people sort of moving
no,
me
no,
haven't.
it
None of
won't
that.
get to the won't get to the root cause.
Yeah.
See, your body formed the mineral deposit at the end of the
Yes.
bone because of the constant irritation.
Yes. Yeah.
So stop doing the irritating thing, which would be snatches, Olympic lifting,
Oh, yeah. All that's over. Yeah.
jerks, all that kind of stuff. I wouldn't even bench press.
Yeah. And all of those,
You can get tremendous workout just doing push-ups in a
without
very
a doubt.
strict
Yeah.
manner. Not fast either. Slow, smooth.
Ag-
Sometimes I do just one push-up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Try,
Do it properly. Right.
try doing 30 seconds down,
Nice.
pause for about 15 seconds, 20, 30 seconds back up, and then 30 seconds back down.
Okay.
One rep,
One rep.
about 90-second time under load. Woo!
I
You'll
like it.
get you'll get good hypertrophy too.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
chest, arms, and shoulders will look great.
That sounds
You
good.
know, body weight rows. You know,
Hmm.
using the same kind of slow, smooth, a little bit of an isometric in there.
I like it.
Yeah, you can still work your muscles out hard, but you got to be smart about it.
Yes.
You can't be like you were when you were a kid, jerking and
Yes.
using
Yeah. Yeah.
explosivity. Nah, this is too hard in
Yeah.
senior citizens joints.
Yeah. Yeah. I always am wondering what the culprit was for particularly the reshaping of the bones, because I understand like muscular tightness, how I could have done that, but how I screwed up the ends of my humerus to the extent. So it was probably all those years of clean and
Yeah, it was
jerks and
just the
snatches.
irritation of like just using heavy weights and
Yeah.
that takes its toll over time. And hey, jiu-jitsu takes its toll too. You got to be really careful.
Oh yeah, well, one thing about having the shoulders I have in terms of tap early and tap often, if I don't,
Exactly. Don't be afraid to tap your lower belt.
oh no, I'm not afraid to tap to anybody. I figure it's
Play
like
a
a bus.
real conservative game, man.
Yeah,
And I don't mind getting my guard passed anymore. I don't have the dexterity. I mean, I'm still pretty good for a
sure.
senior citizen, but you know, you know, purple about enough, they can pass my guard, but I've gotten really comfortable in the bottom.
Yeah, that's I'm trying to learn exactly
I'm
that.
I'm really hard to catch.
Hmm. Well, as a concluding question, I like to ask people about if they were going to pick a superhero name for their, jiu-jitsu life. Some people have something that comes to mind. You got one that you might pick. You got a superhero. You got a name that kind of lends itself to superhero
Well,
status.
Steve
Yeah.
Maxwell is like SM's for Superman,
There we go. Yeah, that's
but
easy enough.
I'm not a Superman. I would just go with my name. I don't consider myself super at all.
Well,
I did have a good role model though. My father lived in 93,
nice.
but he didn't die of natural causes. He
How'd he
died
go?
in an automobile accident.
Wow.
Yeah, my mother, who had dementia that we didn't know,
Right.
ran a red light,
Oh my
and
goodness.
the car was T-boned on the passenger side where my father was sitting,
Right.
but that didn't kill him. What killed him was the airbag hitting his head and face with such force it gave him a concussion and he never woke up.
Oh my goodness. What was
Yeah,
supposed to protect him killed him.
Yeah, I've heard this injuries from these airbags.
Right.
So uh, he he wouldn't be alive now, of course. He'd be well over 100. But
Right.
he was still doing pretty damn good. He was still lifting weights. Still,
Okay.
he loves to run.
Yeah.
He was still running, lifting. He was slow, kind of shuffled, but
Right.
the old man was still doing it.
Yeah.
He would mow the lawn by hand.
Nice.
He'd still get the old push mower and go out there and pull the string. And he loved working in the yard. So I had a good role model.
It sounds like it. Yeah, that's amazing. Well, you're a role model for me, and I appreciate the advice today. And this was a great conversation. So thank you very much. Perhaps you'll come back another time. I'd love to talk
Yeah,
more with you.
absolutely.
Yeah, but this was
And
fantastic.
I thank Scott Burr for setting this up.
Yeah,
Scott
he.
was my first black belt.
Oh, he was. Okay.
Yeah. I was Helston Gracie's first ever black belt in the world.
Right. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. Very first one. Helston never made a black belt. I got my black belt in 2000 in Honolulu
Okay.
at his academy. And
Amazing.
yeah, so I'll be eligible for my coral belt in a couple more years.
I was gonna say, how far
They
away?
make they make you wait 30 years now.
30 years. Yeah.
In the old days, it used to be 20 years coral, 20 years red,
Okay.
40 years as a black belt, but they changed it. The IFBJJ,
Uh-huh.
the federation, they were trying to limit the amount of red belts. So
Okay.
now it's 30 years for a red black belt coral,
Okay.
another 30 years for a red white, another 30 years for a red belt. So basically, you can't live long enough to get a red belt. Or if you get it, you're so old you don't even care
Yeah,
anymore.
you may not. Yeah, you're like, whatever.
But
Well, I'm gonna
my
keep
my
going.
plans are to stay in this. I'd like to make it into my 80s.
Yeah.
We'll see. I got to be really careful. I would recommend to you find partners that are willing to flow with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get guys that are smaller, weaker, and less skilled. Seriously,
No, that's
and then play with it.
yeah,
Play
yeah,
with it.
without a doubt. Well, it's funny that notion and play. I guess when I asked you earlier if the Gracies had impacted teaching style in some way, when I listened to Hickson talk about what it was like as children on the mats, and even Hiron and Henner talking about that, how there was no pressure associated with it, that it was introduced to them as a playful
It's a
experience.
playful
Yeah.
experience. Yeah.
And I'm of the opinion that there's lots and lots of value to approach the learning in a playful manner, um, to get your body to relax. I'm not relaxed in hardly any way, psychologically, physically. So that kind of way to reduce the pressure of having to execute properly, to give yourself, and not for me, it's a time issue too. Like, can you be relaxed over time, continue to come back and learn a little piece at a time is
Well, are you still working?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. What do you do besides the
Yeah,
besides?
yeah, no, yeah. This is the podcast is a passion of mine. It's not a business of mine, at least at this juncture. And then I work in the field of technology in my
Oh,
actual
okay. Well,
yeah,
that
yeah,
lends itself a lot of podcasting.
yeah,
But I would recommend if you had the time. I don't know how busy you are, but maybe work in a couple yoga classes,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I spent
or
many
even
yeah,
qigong or tai
yes,
chi, or
yes, yes, yeah,
very good for breath work, that type of stuff. I would also recommend you check out the Buteyko. It's a Russian breathing
okay,
system.
that's new to me.
You can get the oxygen advantage. That's another thing your customers can buy.
Okay,
Great breathing advice. Everyone's into Wim Hof, Wim Hof,
sure,
Wim Hof. That's just one type of breathing called Tuma breathing, which is
okay,
fine.
right,
But there's a better breathing system, in my opinion, called the Buteyko. I don't even know how
okay,
to spell that.
that's all right,
Buteyko, I think.
right,
Buteyko. Anyway, that's really good, man.
okay,
Oxygen advantage.
I like it. Okay,
Learn to start doing breath work, do the softer qigong,
right,
you know, make your strength training mostly isometrics and bodyweight training. slow, smooth, high tension. You only need 1 or 2 strength trainings a week anyway.
Yeah.
You don't need to be working out like 3 or 4 or 5 times a week.
Yeah. No, that all, yeah, thank you for all of that. That all sounds very achievable, and it needs to, for me to not be comparing myself to, I mean, each decade of life carries with it certain advantages and disadvantages, I think physically,
Exactly.
and so sometimes
But
I
mentally,
I agree.
you're getting sharper and sharper.
Yes.
You're okay. Bye, Teresa. Your intellect is getting better and better,
Right.
and you can develop your mind game. Because jiu-jitsu has been likened a lot to chess, like three-dimensional chess.
Sure. Sure.
And there's chess players like really old,
Yeah.
sharp.
Yeah. Oh, heck yeah.
So you can keep your mind really, really sharp.
Indeed. Well,
Yeah.
I aspire to do just that. All
Yeah.
right, sir. This was fantastic. Thank you so much.
Great talking with you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on your show. And I'm going to go work out right now. This is my day. This is
Oh,
my
excellent. Okay.
yeah. So I'm going to do some isometrics and some super slow. And I uh, I'm really big into breath holds.
Okay. I'm going to
Yeah,
look into all the things you talked about.
yeah, yeah.
I'm
Breath
excited.
holding, man, for stem cell production.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, those are in the news all the time now, stem cells.
Yep, all the time, man.
Yeah.
So, all right.
All right. That's
Thank
awesome.
you, Peter.
Thank you very much.
Bye bye now.
Bye-bye.